Sorry guys, just having some issues with the phone mount. Keeps freaking out telling me that the camera's wrong. Okay, that seems good. It's like a minute of stuffing around there. Sorry about that. Alright, let's see if I can get this chat open. I haven't done a live stream in ages, so I don't know if this is going to... how this is going to work. I really just want to have the chat open so I can do it. Alright, here we go. Hey Dark Angels, man. What's up? Alright. So everyone, looks like everyone can see this. Sick. Alright, so this is what I'm working on today, is a commission of Rocket Raccoon and Groot. I'm going to chuck this live stream up too on my channel later so you guys can check it out if you can't catch the full stream. Hopefully my dog barking in the background isn't too annoying. It's been ages since I did a live stream, like I said before, so hopefully this goes well. I don't know how it's all going to go. I'm just going to treat this like a regular, just like a regular video, I suppose. I'm just going to talk while I draw. I want to do more of these. I've got a few commissions I need to do, so my idea is to like pencil this at night and maybe even during the live streams. I don't know. But I definitely just want to do more live streams and like sort of get in touch with you guys and see how you're going. So, alright, I'm just making sure I've got all my tools here. So this is my pencil case, which is like a little art satchel. It's Etcher. Etcher satchel. I don't know if you guys have checked it out. They did a Kickstarter a couple of years ago, and I love this thing. It's awesome. It sort of holds everything together quite nicely and arranges all my pencils. I used to use a pencil case and it was gross. But I think I've got everything that I need. I'm probably going to need this as well. And I'll just keep them over there. Before I get started on this, I want to show you how sort of... the stupid thing keeps freaking out about the angle of the video. Okay, there we go. Alright. So before I get started, I want to actually show you guys what I did to get to this point. So originally what I was doing, so the commission was Rocket and Groot. So I did like a few rough sketches of what I wanted the commission to look like before I actually did like the finished thing. And you probably noticed that these look nothing like this one. What ended up happening was I did this one originally, which still came out really cool. I'm quite happy with it, but it was just sort of not what I wanted. Once I'd actually finished, I was like, yeah, this isn't really the feel of the design that I was going for. So I sort of came in, tried to do another version here, and then what ended up happening was I tried to do this design which had the sort of rocket holding the gun, and then I did another quick sketch down here and I was like, okay, this is far more what I was hoping for. So I just took that and these two, so take those away, and ended up with this sketch here. So it's much cleaner. I was really hoping to sort of nail it on the first one, but there was just so much going on that I'm really glad that I took a bit of time and reworked it till I got to a point that I was really, really happy with. And I had to use a bit of reference as well. So you might notice like it's a very similar design to like Derek Laufman. He did a really, really cool Rocket Raccoon design, which is quite cartoony and simple, which is more up my alley. So, yeah. So now here I am getting ready to ink it. Alright, let's read the comments. Abe. I need something like that supply bag to keep my stuff away from my daughter. She has the drawing bug, keeps stealing my supplies. I 100% know what you mean. I used to have all of my art supplies out. I'll show you what I mean. So this is my drawing table. I I used to have everything over here. Like everything used to be out and available. Like I got little inkwells which I had my ink in, all my pencils and everything. But this is like the perfect height for my daughter to just walk in and grab stuff. So now mostly what I do is I actually have a rubber band around like the main things that I use. So usually there's like another marker and another pencil in here. And these are like just the only ones that I keep on hand. Um, and then everything else is now like hidden in my drawer. So she can't find them because man, yeah, like she's only 2.5, but God, she knows how to get into my supplies. It's really annoying. All right, are we good? Sorry, this camera keeps like just getting all annoying on me. I have to find a new holder for my camera, I think. Some more questions. Gigi, do you listen to music while drawing? If so, what kind? I do. I do listen to a lot of music. I don't know if you can hear it in the background. There's actually a bit of like chill hop going on in the background, which I've just got running off YouTube. But my music tastes vary greatly. Excuse me, just having some coffee. Um, yeah, they vary quite significantly. And my tastes change a lot during the day, and it's always generally based on my mood. Uh, when I say that, like some days I'll wake up and I'll just really want to listen to a lot of. Just want to make sure you guys can see what I'm drawing here. See if I can get rid of some of these shadows a little bit. It's a bit. Okay, that looks better. Um, yeah, sometimes I just want to listen to like pop punk, so like Blink 182, Newfound Glory, and Good Charlotte, that sort of stuff. Other days, like today, I'm in a real chill hop mood, so I just like listening to sort of jazzy hip hop beats, which are really nice. I do find when I'm working, I can be like when I'm actually drawing, I can listen to a lot of things. I'm finding at the moment while I'm actually doing a lot more um, marketing stuff because I'm trying to rebuild my freelance brand that I'm listening to a lot more music that doesn't have lyrics because I can't concentrate. Like if there's lyrics, it never used to be a problem, but lately, if there's lyrics, my mind tries to pay attention to both of those. So what I'm actively working on plus the music itself. So I need something that's a little bit more forgiving on my sort of mental capacity, I suppose. But some days I have like real metal days. I do listen to a lot of hip hop, especially when I'm sort of having trouble to get motivated. I find hip hop is probably the best thing to really motivate me and get me really like in the mood. Um, and like I couldn't really recommend like any sort of out there hip hop artists. Like it's really just sort of the mainstream stuff I listen to, like Eminem, of course, Dr. Dre, who else? Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, NWA, of course. It sort of goes without saying with the other ones I just said. Um, I've been getting into Logic a little bit, thanks to my mate Luke, who got me onto him. Um, gosh, who else? Um, also don't mind like Childish Gambino, he's really good. And again, that sort of goes like the hip hop beats are really nice to work with. They're not sort of heavy and fast and like insane like a lot of the other stuff is. So I can concentrate a little bit more. Okay. It looks like you guys can see this okay, which is good. Yeah, man. I never really used to be into NWA when I started listening to hip hop. My original roots, like hip hop wise, were like derived straight from Eminem because that was sort of the era that I grew up in. Was the real Slim Shady came out when he sort of really hit it big for me. And I specifically remember the day that I got my first Eminem. It wasn't an album, it was actually a CD single, for those of you who remember what CD singles are. Um, my dad was so against Eminem, he really disliked him, which probably aided further towards my interest of him. and I've really, really wanted to listen to him, and before Spotify or anything existed, and I convinced my mum to give me some money. I was like, "Hey, mum, just give me some money. I just want to buy a CD." She was like, "Yeah, here you go," and she gave me like $10, and I think like CD singles were maybe like $5 or $6 at the time. They weren't that expensive, so I went and bought the real Slim Shady single, and came back, and my dad was furious. But it was at that point. It's like I'd already bought it. There was not much he could do, and man, I must have listened to that CD so many times. But yeah, and that sort of sparked it. And then my brother was very much into hip hop. Not that I really knew. Like, I always thought my brother was a bit more of a metalhead because he got me into Marilyn Manson, him and my sister. Um, but then once he realised I was into hip hop, we sort of built a bit of a connection around that. And whenever I would hang out with him, we would listen to what he would listen to. So that got me into a bit of Master P, which I don't really listen to so much now. And that sort of got me into Dre and NWA, um, Snoop Dogg. Never really got into Tupac until very recently, um, which I now really enjoy. But I think back then I was just a bit bored with the music style. Like, I was a very I liked really aggressive music, which probably explains my sort of differing tastes between sort of the late 90s, early 2000s hip hop, and where am I going with this? And sort of heavy metal and punk. And I'm kind of glad that it varied. I remember when I was younger, a lot of people would, there was such a, like in high school, there was such a pressure on people listening to certain music. And it was like, that sort of defined who you were. And I remember, like, a lot of people, you could generally sort of just look at them and get an idea of what they listened to. And I hated that. I wanted to listen to what I wanted to listen to, and I hated being judged for it. And when I first got into Marilyn Manson, um, man, people just really gave me a hard time. Like, all the old standard, oh, he took his ribs out to, give himself fellatio, and all those, crappy rumors, which just weren't true. Um, I think, though, sort of being conholed into that made me want to learn more about certain musicians. So, watched a lot of documentaries and bought those sort of biography albums and stuff of some of those artists to learn a bit more about them. But I find that being quite motivational now, like looking further back, so someone like Eminem with the history that he had, the life that he went through as a kid, to where he is now, it's really inspirational to see that, someone like that can really pull themselves out of the dirt and make something of themselves. It took me a longer time too to realize, listening to a lot of those lyrics, especially like Eminem's lyrics, sort of the stories behind them. Once you learn a little bit more about their background and their history, you start to understand those lyrics a lot more, and it's really nice to revisit them as that info sort of comes out, or you discover it. What are your favorite characters that you like to draw? Man, primarily my own characters. If you have read Monkey Junk, there's like the four main characters. So you got Geordie, Abby, Sprocket, and Chris. Chris is by far my favorite. Like, he's just this really animated pig with these giant floppy ears, and those ears are sort of used to define his emotion, which is a lot of fun. I used to draw a lot of fan art, but I'd stopped for a while. So drawing that sort of stuff stopped for a bit. Um, but I'm finding myself getting back into it again, sort of, as you see here. Um, One character that I've always enjoyed drawing, but also struggled a lot with drawing, was Spidey, so Spider Man. And with sort of that resurgence of Into the Spider-Verse, it's really got me excited again about drawing fan art. So looking forward, um, gosh, I'm just trying to think of who I used to draw a lot of. Always used to really enjoy drawing like the Adventure Time guys. I do have a bit of a history of drawing the Guardian of the Galaxy. This is definitely not my first Rocket and Groot. They're a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, if I had to pick one that's like just like recurring characters, it always generally fell back onto my own characters. I've always, especially my sketchbook, like I'll show you guys too. If I get the sketchbook out, like most of it's, there's a bit of a Dumbledore there. Most of it's just creating my own stuff. I always focus on just my own characters. This was actually a bit of fan art for Shameless, which I'm working on slowly. Again, here's like some chibi versions of the Monkey Junk guys, real simple sketches. Yeah, just designing characters' faces. Nothing. There's a Spider-Man that I drew earlier, like working on sketch designs for it. Some cover designs for Monkey Junk. Yeah, I do love monsters. I will say that I love trying to design monsters and coming up with things. There's some more character designs and like art studies and stuff. More characters. Yeah, I just like drawing faces. I love drawing, just coming up with different character designs. Like I'm totally open to drawing fans, enjoy it, but whenever I pull a sketchbook out, like I just end up drawing. I don't know, just trying to flex my muscles and creating something new, rather than trying to recreate something that exists. What else we got? Hey Willie, Trey, any tips on character design? Yeah, well, perfect question. Given we're talking about it. Um, Give me a second. I'm just going to tidy this up. I've just noticed something that I missed. That should do it. Okay. Character design. Okay. One thing I would highly recommend getting into character design is go out and draw real people. One of the things I used to do when gosh, this is going back five or so years now. Oh, maybe even 7 years now that I think about it. I used to work down the road from this coffee shop, and I would go down there. Like I started work at like 9 o'clock. So what I would do is I would get down there at like 9 o'clock. Oh, sorry, 8 o'clock. So an hour before I started work, I'd grab myself a coffee. I'd take my sketchbook with me, and I would just sit there in the same table. It became like a daily habit too. So um, the people who worked there came to know me pretty well, which was kind of cool because they knew what coffee I wanted and stuff. But I would sit there and I would draw the people that came by. Like I'd try not to be creepy or anything, but I would, just look at the faces in the area. And most people are only there for like 5 or 10 minutes, so you didn't have a lot of time to keep the reference. But so it was kind of like speed life drawing in a way, and I did a lot of that, and that really helped me sort of understand different faces, different facial shapes, different facial features, wrinkles, placement, and how everyone's different too. And that was probably one of the biggest things that I sort of took away and would recommend for anyone is study people's faces. Start to actually look beyond, just the people and start to figure out like the way that their face works. And that sounds really weird when I say it, but like you would know your own face quite well when you look at someone else and look at the way that their nose is placed on their face or where their cheekbones sit. how defined their cheekbones are in comparison to your own. All these little things that you'll start to pick up on, and it becomes almost like a natural thing too. And this is really going to sound really weird, but the other day I was practicing drawing ears, and sort of had like one of those epiphany moments where I sort of realized, oh, okay, that's why the ear does this or does that. And I spent the next couple of minutes staring at my wife's ear, and she looked at me like a weirdo, but she knew that I was just doing it as a sort of study. Um, and then once I sort of figured that out, I just started drawing the ears. So, and that's another thing too, is break up the all the elements that come into making something. So if you're designing a face, for example, pull the face apart, figure out how to draw the nose, then how to draw the ears, then how to draw eyes, and how to draw a mouth. Then come back in later, once you've figured that out, and then put the face together. And the same with the body. Try and figure out how the torso works, how the torso moves, how different body shapes work. So understanding muscles, human anatomy is really important. So if you look at someone quite muscular, you'll start to understand why their body moves the way that it does. But beyond that, I mean, get a nice understanding first of how it all works. Then come in. So let's say you want to do a fantasy comic or something. You want to design a fairy. So you already understand the elements now of how to draw a person. Now you need to adapt to that and start adding in different features. So let's take Rocket. So if we're doing an alternate version of Rocket, or like let's say a species based on Rocket Raccoon, we could start altering different elements. So we've got the eyes here. We could smaller eyes would instantly create a brand new character. A longer snout or a shorter snout, a smaller nose, one without teeth. We can make the ears longer, we could make them fatter, we can point them in different directions, we can change the hairstyle. We can do all sorts of different things based on this one standard. And just to sort of here's Rocket's facial shape. All we need to do now is and there you go. You've got like this is super scratchy, but you've got like a really nice sort of female character there. You can put some little features on there to make her look a little bit more female. You can make the ears a little bit more dainty. Females would have more dainty features. So the small nose, smaller pointy ears. You've got the nice flick up of hair there. You could even put like little bows on her hair around here. I don't know. There's lots of little things you can do to emphasize different aspects of a character to make them unique and make them your own. But understanding everything first, understanding those elements is probably the most important part. Then you can sort of break it all up. Okay. Willie, man, I love your cartoony style. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Abe says, hey to Willie. Trey, great. I'm having a block drawing a gut from the front view. It has been irritating me, lol. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a fun one to draw. Look, if it was me, I would be looking at doing something different. Do you have the option to draw it from a side-on view or like a three-quarter view? Does it have to be front on? And if it does, then the next step I would take would be to jump online and start looking for a reference, looking for larger figured people to draw from. That's the best way. Yeah, and that's no different to what I was saying about like the whole going down to a cafe and drawing people. You know, find a photo of a larger person from a front-on view. Think of like an actor that would be a really good suggestion. So, um, John Candy comes to mind when it comes to larger figured males. Um, Look at the cover for what was it? Uncle Buck. So he did that movie Uncle Buck, and I'm pretty sure from memory that's just a picture of him front on in front of a doorway. Um, have a look at how his body sort of contours to sort of get to that to allow you to understand just by looking at him that he's a larger person. You might actually find that there's really no defining features from that angle that will actually assist you in understanding that. If that's the case, now start to break down the picture. So we can obviously tell that he's larger, but what sorry, just let me get my thoughts here. Um, what other features within the picture help you realize that he's larger? Is it that he's got a wider frame, that he's got larger legs? So again, keep diverting to doing like mini lessons in here. I really should start doing these cartoon drawing classes. So if you've got a character that's quite large, I mean, even that alone, so a smaller head on a character tells me that that's a large body. If I draw that same body and then draw a head proportionate to that, you can already see the difference where we can tell this is quite a large person compared to someone who's maybe just a bit stocky. And then what I like to do on really big people is really under exaggerate certain things. So if they're quite large, they're going to have very teeny tiny legs. And that overemphasizes the fact that they're a big person. Kind of like if you've seen Into the Spider-Verse, the Kingpin design is perfect. But if we go this guy and then just draw, so let's say there's his torso there, which runs down, and we do standard legs. Again, this is a really bad design. Because of the proportions, everything looks normal. He just looks like a stocky, well-built person. So these different elements make huge differences. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. Any more questions? Willie, follow me on Twitter. Thanks, man. I've actually just started really getting into Twitter again, which you'll probably have noticed. So hopefully I'll be very active on there. So feel free to sort of get involved too. It'll be awesome. When drawing clothes, how do you make wrinkles? Again, this comes back down to reference. Taking photos of yourself is really good. Understanding wrinkles can be really hard and difficult because they vary so much. Using reference is going to be your best friend here. There's no real secret to being like, do this and then you'll be really good at wrinkles. You need to start looking more at reference. Look at someone who wears skinny jeans and see how those skinny jeans sit on them. You might find that there's very little wrinkles, and there might be some wrinkles in places you didn't think there'd be wrinkles. And then find a picture of a girl in a big baggy jumper and see how the wrinkles work on there. For the most part, for me, it's generally guesswork. I like to do, as you saw before in a lot of the, like, you know, this sketch here, there's a lot of pencil work going on there. I'm just trying to figure out what works best before I get to the finished piece here. That should be part of the process for you is just don't try and get it right the first time. You don't have to. That's a huge mistake for a lot of people. Getting it right the first time is not always going to happen, if at all. A lot of the professionals will, go back and forth all the time with what they're designing to make, to nail the design. So just work it. Have some fun, massage the design a bit until you get what the result that you're after. And don't be don't be like super, don't be super conscious about it. It doesn't always have to be right, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't have to be like, complete. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate to life and how a jumper would, very specifically fold around a bent elbow. As long as you get the idea there and people can understand that that's what you're trying to convey in the piece, that should be enough. Don't overcomplicate things. Sometimes simplifying things is a lot easier. It really is. And that took me a while to learn, actually, to simplify things. And you'll probably see that in my art style, especially now. I like, if you guys actually go back, there's a video I posted a couple of days ago, last Friday, the Fan Art Friday, of Lip from Shameless. If you actually watch that carefully, at the beginning you'll see that I drew Lip's face maybe like 5 or 6 times. And what I'm doing there is I'm trying to get his face design down to sort of as accurate as I possibly can, because I'm basing off someone in real life. And then what I do is I actually strip a lot of that detail back down to really simplify the character design. And that's what I end up with. That's the design that I ended up with. Try that out. Try simplifying. And don't be afraid to work. Work things. Massage them and get them to a point that makes you happy. Don't try and get everything right the first time. You'll just disappoint yourself. And it can be super discouraging. I know, I've been there. And, don't let yourself sort of get down because, you're not getting it right the first time. Especially if you've never done it before. If it's something that's new to you, like, you can't expect it to be right the first time. Okay, what else is going on? Rocket! What's up, Ox? You should join us in a hangout and draw with us sometime. Yeah. Are we talking about like the hundreds hangout? Because I've been wanting to for ages. What's up, Scott? Man, everyone's in here. Thanks for joining, guys. It's good to see you all. It's nice to be doing this live stream. Definitely going to be doing a lot more of them over time. I've got a few of these commissions to do. And for anyone interested, I'm actually going to be opening up commissions soon too. So not only does that mean you guys get art, but it also means more live streams for me. I'm actually very curious. I'm looking at investing in an iPad soon so I can do a bit more artwork outside of the studio. I know a few people who have them and do really well with them, but one thing I don't know, and I haven't spoken to many people about it, but I want to do live streams with the iPad. I don't know how that works, so I'm going to have to try and figure that out. I do remember I played with Procreate once before, and I remember it having like a live stream option. I don't know if that like connects directly with YouTube or anything or not. I've also considered toying with Twitch, but I mean, like, all you guys are here. It seems so silly to start focusing on another channel when everyone's already here. Sorry, hopefully I'm not getting too far down. I think my camera, there we go. That's better. GG. I'm drawing along with you. Also, thank you for answering my questions. That's awesome, man. You should share what you're drawing on Twitter or Instagram or something. You can tag me. I'd love to see what you're working on. And you're welcome, man. Yeah, that's I suppose what these live streams are for. I'm going to try and sort of take in a lot of what I'm talking about here so I can actually do proper videos about them. Um, Definitely want to start creating more video content and, but actually focusing on what you guys want to learn. I can create proper content with proper labels so you guys can find them a little bit easier too. So one thing I really enjoyed doing this when I was working on this piece, for those who haven't actually, like who've come in a bit later, is like the original sketches from the rocket piece that I did before I got to sort of this stage. One thing I enjoyed a lot, because usually I would sketch these digitally, print them out, and then ink them. This is the first time in a long time where I've done it 100% traditionally. I think there was a bit of a fear attached to it as well because I'd become so used to working digitally. I think I was worried that I wouldn't be good enough to do it traditionally. I mean, looking at it now, like I'm very happy with where it's at. But I had to kind of remind myself, I'm like, I used to do this all the time for conventions. So if I can do it at a convention in front of hundreds of thousands of people, surely I can do it in my own, lounge room on my own, hanging out with my wife. Like, so I did. I took the risk, took a leap, and it's very very happy with the result that I've gotten so far. So sometimes that generally tends to lead to a delay in my commissions as well, which is really stupid because I really shouldn't delay in them. But most people tend to want traditional art, and I generally try to avoid taking on traditional commissions. But I really need to open up my commission list soon, and if I don't start doing traditional stuff, I don't know if I'm going to get any interest. So hopefully by getting back into it like this will help. Man, I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background. My dog is going nuts. I'm guessing someone's mowing their lawn next door. He's just going mental. There's like no one else home, so I've got the door closed. I feel really bad that he's locked out of the room, but if I open the door, he's just going to be barking like crazy, and I just can't be bothered dealing with that. Alright, where are we? If you guys have any more questions, feel free to throw them up in the comments too, and I'll reply as best as I can. Otherwise, I'm just going to be rambling to myself about junk. It's been a while since I rambled though. I usually do the vlogs. I haven't done the vlogs in so long. I was actually almost tempted to, now that everyone's back doing the 100 days of making comics, just doing the 100 days as an excuse to do a vlog every day. It's very tempting. But at the same time, I know if I do that, then I'm going to be distracted by doing a vlog. I don't know if I can be bothered dealing with that extra amount of work. Out of curiosity, if people are sort of paying attention, can you guys hear the music in the background? Because I do have music going, but someone mentioned, do I listen to music? And it just made me wonder if you guys can hear it. Otherwise, when it gets really quiet, I feel sorry for how boring these videos must be. Also, if you guys are enjoying these videos, please let me know so I can do more of them. I am enjoying this, but if you guys would like me to do more of them, then I'll make more of a conscious effort to do them. It'll also make me look into getting a decent camera holder as well, because this one's not doing too well. Let me just see if I can readjust it here. Sorry. No. Bad choice. Bad choice. I will point out that this is going to be done in colour too, so when I get around to colouring this with Copics, I will do another live stream, whether that's this afternoon or tomorrow. We've got a couple more of these commissions to do. So there's this one of Rocket and Groot, and then there's going to be Drax and Mantis, which is going to be cool. And then Star-Lord and Gamora, which is probably the one I'm looking the most forward to next to this one. Yeah, so I'll be doing a few live streams, at least, while I do those. There are a couple more of characters I don't know. Arrowette and Secret. Pardon me. So they're going to be interesting to draw. Oh crap, I just realised I didn't answer a question. Abe, you asked what pens I use. At the moment, I'm using, if you can see it, the Copic Multiliners. I usually use, at the moment, pretty much use a 0.5 for everything, because I just use my pressure. Just as an example. It's like this is the 0.5 if I just, the 0.5 if I just press down hard. But if I just apply different pressures, I can get different lines. Very much like a brush, I suppose. It does take a bit of time sometimes with certain nibs to get to that nice stage. Some only allow you to get like a really basic line. So I just tend to, you can see it here, even on the bottom here. I always sort of work in my pens a little bit to get to that point. Otherwise, one of the other ones I use, I don't even know what brand this is. I got this from my old job. I think it's a Kuretake brush pen. This is the number 22. That's non-specific. Usually I use the Pentel pocket brush pen, which I need to get a new one. I just can't afford one at the moment. So if anyone wants to buy me a Pentel pocket brush pen, please go ahead. But this one's really nice. This is like a proper brush tip. So you can get really nice varied lines. This one's just a little bit heavier than I prefer. And it's starting to fray a little bit at the edge too. So it's really good for blocking in color or for getting like cool effects like that. But I generally have it on hand, but I don't use it a lot these days. Like I said, I preferred the Pentel pocket brush. That I just had as a backup. But being a backup, yeah, I don't really use it as often as I probably could. But as far as pens go, I change a lot. I used to use very specifically the Microns, which I think if I get my sort of pencil wallet here. I do have one. These ones are also really good, the Micron. So this by Sakura. Also, a couple that I really love. I haven't used them in a while. I don't know why. Which is the... Sorry, my other pen's in the way. The Faber-Castell Pit Pens. I use the fine pen, and I also use the small pen. It's just got like a really nice fine tip. This one, however, is a bit bent. I don't know if the camera's going to focus on it. So I don't use it a lot. These ones are interesting. These are called the Faber-Castell Echo Pigment Pens. These were used to draw pretty much the first half of Monkey Junk, Chapter 1. These are really nice to use. They come in a set of 4 or 5 pens. The reason I don't use most of them is because they ran out, which is why I went over to the Copic. But they were they're pretty much like the Pit pens, but just on a little bit more of a professional level. So the nibs are a little bit stronger, the inks are a bit nicer. I do like to mix it up though. I mean, like, I don't know if you guys have Daiso in the US. It's a Japanese store they're just sort of taking over in Australia. But it's like a variety store. They have like everything for like $2.80. And I like to buy different brushes from them as well. Most specifically, like brush pens. This one's kind of cool. It's more of a felt tip, but you know, it's alright. I'm not a huge fan of felt tip on brushed pens. I like the synthetic pens more. But I like to just try everything at least just to see. But as far as, like I said, currently I'm using the Copic. And for a brush pen, my preference is the Pentel Pocket Brush. I just don't have one at the moment. Thanks, Mike. I definitely think I will. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun. Gigi, how many art styles do I know? Man, that is a loaded question. That is huge. I don't know. I never really break things down into style. I just generally break it down into the artist. So if I'm sort of explaining a style to someone, I'll be like, oh, you know, I really like Scotty Young's art style. So in that regard, there's a lot of art styles. That to me is probably the easiest way to categorize art styles, is by signifying the artist behind the style. At least for me, in sort of a comic book sense. Might be different for others. Sorry, I have a funny one else. I just want to point out here too, I think this is really important to recognize for a lot of artists. When you're drawing or when you're doing things like this, I mean, here I am in the very finishing stages of this piece, inking it, you know, the pencils are, for the most part, complete. But I've just gone in and gone, okay, these buckles on this side didn't match this side, I need to fix this. So I've just gone in with a pencil and fixed it up. And I think that's a really good fact to point out, is that it's okay to correct work later on too. Going back to what I was saying about like wrinkles in clothing, this this piece isn't complete. It's, you know, it can always be added upon or adapted until, you know, I get to sort of a point that I'm happy with. I like to with my inks, and this is probably attributed to why I have such a very definitive inking style, is I like things to be finished at the inking stage. I know a lot of artists who like to ink and then come in with white, and I agree with that on some points for highlights or for certain things, but when it comes to corrections, I hate having to correct my artwork after the fact. If it's worth doing right, it's worth doing right the first time. It's the way I see it. And I think that focus really shows when it comes to like the finished piece. I would say though, to add to that, you'll probably notice, like I said, I'm only using one pen here, but if you look at this picture, there's a lot of varying line weights in here. And when I'm working this way, the way I think about it, if I had a line like this that I wanted to work with, so let's say I've got this is like sort of the leg over here. This inside's just going to have like a nice fine line to define the actual seam of the pants. But I'm just going to add to this. So rather than just doing one thick line straight away, I'm just going to add a bit of extra character by adding to it. I mean, this takes a bit of practice and a little bit of precision too, because you want to make sure that you can see I'm sort of chicken scratching here, but I'm trying to make sure that the landing of my pen is quite precise on the area that I'm drawing. But don't go in guns a-blazing with like a big fat pen. Do it. Be a bit patient. Spend a bit more time on it, and you'll get a better result. What else have we got going on? Part of the Revengers. I was about to sleep and stumbled over here. Hello from Germany. Hey, that's awesome. Thanks for joining in. Do you ever were at a point where you... Was I ever at a point where I wanted to quit drawing? I want to look. Yes, this is going to get a bit sort of personal struggles here, so it's going to might get a bit deep. So, okay, was it? So not last year because now we're in 2019. The year before, was the year I'd started Monkey Junk up officially, which was the color comic which I was working on. So some of you might know of it, some of you might not. I had started a new job, which prevented me from working on Monkey Junk as much as I'd like to the point where it almost got to a halt because I was so busy at work. And it was a bit of a toxic environment, unfortunately. But I needed the job. I had to support my family, so I stayed there. And it caused me to go into a bit of a sort of depressive state, and I had a bit of a mental breakdown to the point where inadvertently I had stopped drawing. It took me a long time to realize that I had stopped drawing. And I was just playing a lot of video games. I was playing a lot of Zelda because I had a Nintendo Switch at the time because I had money because I had a job. Yeah, it was. It was at a point where I was actually okay with that fact that I wasn't really drawing much. Especially on a level of like drawing professionally, like the idea of drawing for myself again had just dissipated. So, yeah, look, there's been points. It's always when I'm sort of at my lowest stage mentally that happens. Thankfully, now I'm at a stage where sometimes it takes a bit longer to realize it, but I'm always at my best when I am drawing. For me, drawing is definitely my vice. It definitely is the one thing that balances me as a person, mentally and even socially as well. I've noticed in the time that I've been out of work and freelancing, I'm more myself than I have been in 2 years, and that makes me really happy. I don't know if anyone else has noticed it, like in my social group, but I've noticed it personally. Just my mannerisms, my confidence, and everything. The job that I had was really soul sucking. So being out of there and being myself again is great. So Yeah, look, there have been some times, even when I finished high school, and that's going back 14 years now. When I finished high school, I pretty much just stopped drawing because I was just drawing as a hobbyist, just drawing when I wanted to draw, nothing fancy, had no real goals or aspirations. It wasn't until I went to my first comic convention in 2009 that I really got that spark again to draw. But back then, like, I'd really not bothered with drawing. I did go attend drawing classes. The only reason I attended them was for the social aspect because I had a lot of friends there. So I would pretty much just draw once a week for a couple of hours, and that was it. And that would fulfill, yeah, my quota, I suppose. Now things are a lot different. Now I'm far more focused. All right. No, don't. No, that's fine. Don't be sorry about it being personal. Look, if I didn't want to share it, I wouldn't. And that's look, and that was a very, very dulled down version of it, to be honest. But I think it's important. I think it's a lot of people need to realize that um, they're not the only ones who go through it. And like you said, you're feeling a bit down now, and you're feeling the same. Um, Look, if it helps, give yourself some purpose. One of the hardest things. Look, it took me a bit of time to realize this. Like when I was in high school or when I was at work, the drive that kept me going was that there was always work there. Like I would go in, I would have something to do, I would have a purpose to push me to do what I'm there to do, finish and go home, and that was it. To work on comics, there was no push, there was no reasoning to draw, um, and I had to have a reason. Um, the reason now, and the reason isn't a mental thing for me. Like that, every day I get up and work on Monkey Junk. Um, and Monkey Junk's a personal comic. There's no gain from it for me. It's purely there because I want to do it. But having the project, that's the push for me. That's the reason. Doing like this now, this is a commission, so I've been paid to do this because of this is actually for a commission for someone who backed the Monkey Junk Kickstarter. Um, I have to do this because it's a job. Someone's paid for it. It gives me a reasoning behind actively doing it. Um, Not everyone has the luxury that they can get commissions or at least get commissions easily. If you can, that's great. Maybe start taking on commissions, and that knowing that there's someone waiting to get their artwork might be the catalyst that drives you. Otherwise, you need to figure out what that catalyst is for you. Um, it might not be that you need to be driven by the fact that it's work for you. Maybe it's easier for you to be driven by the fact that you just enjoy doing it. Um, Try and remind yourself why you enjoy doing it. There's a plethora of reasons. I don't know your situation. Uh, I don't want to assume your situation. It could be, this is just me pulling at straws here. It could be that maybe you're not happy with the work that you're producing. Um, if that's the case, one of the things I used to do when I would get down on myself for not being happy with the content that I've created, if I was just trying to draw a comic and the page was turning out crap, what I would generally do was pick up a book of someone else that I admire, someone who has a very vastly different style to me, and I would try and copy them. I would try and learn to draw like that. Um, Not heavily, too, that's worth pointing out. I would just do it as a practice, just a reasoning. So I've got a reference in front of me that's helping me you know, learn from. But there's no pressure because I'm not trying to do something finished. I'm purely in it for a learning aspect. Maybe that will help you. But whatever it is, I do hope that you can get out of it. I hope you can sort of find a bit of reasoning to keep creating artwork. If not for a specific goal, for yourself. I think anyone who has the ability to create art should always create art. I think we're lucky to have these gifts, and everyone has gifts. I think it's important that we nurture them for whatever cause or reasoning we have behind it. Alright, this is nearly done. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'm really enjoying hanging out with you here. I actually feel like had I done this away from a live stream, I probably would get myself more distracted. So there's a good chance I'll just, and you know, you guys have already said you're enjoying the live stream, so there's a good chance that I'll continue doing these because it definitely makes me far more productive. And if I can figure things on the iPad out, that means I can do even more, which would be awesome. I just have to get the iPad first. Actually, I just want to add to what I was just talking about, you know, sort of about creating a reasoning for doing artwork and things like that. Um, at the moment, for me, I don't know how many of you guys watch my vlogs and stuff like that, but I have a family. I have a wife and a daughter. She's 2.5 now, and I love them to bits. You know, they're everything to me. Um, I just recently lost my job at the end of last year. Uh, because of that, well, I'm jobless. I don't, you know, pretty soon I won't have an income after you know my savings are depleted, um, and I am looking for full time work. But at the same time, I'm focusing on making illustration my bread and butter. Whilst doing that, that's my drive at the moment. Is it's not creating artwork. It's not, um, you know, like you know there is you know the paid work which I have to get done, of course, um, but the drive and the focus for me, the reason that I remain so focused and the reason I've been so much more active on YouTube and social media and everything, um, is because if I don't, we'll have no money and my family will, I don't know what will happen. And I'll end up in a crappy job doing, you know, packing boxes or something like that. You know, I don't want that. I don't want some crappy job. I don't want to be like having to pack boxes in one place for you know, a crappy wage and then having to go to like a pizza delivery job to earn more money in another place, you know. Um, so I really want to make this work. I want to make this happen for me as much as possible. So um, that drives me. That drives me the most above anything at the moment. Once I can get all of that settled, then my drive will shift. And I'm sure, you know, it'll shift to getting monkey junk happening. You know, and I'm doing things to sort of try and grow. Applying to art grants, to make Monkey Junk into a graphic novel, a full color graphic novel. So if I get the art grant, you know, that'll be happening. Um, just looking for work in different locations, like logo designs and things like that. And like I said, I'm going to be opening commissions up soon. So if anyone's interested in a commission, digital or traditional, that'll be happening too. You know, all these little things will be adding to, you know, keeping me and my family afloat. Um, Gigi, what are some art tubers that you like? Hope everything works out for you. Thanks, man. Thanks. I really, well, thanks, dude. I don't know, man or female. I'm not sure, so don't want to offend. But thank you. I appreciate that. Uh, Tubers that I like. All right. Well, the first ones I'm going to start with are just like, I'm not heavy into YouTube. Um, I am, and I'm not, if that makes sense. Um, the first lot, like Scott Circland, uh, oh, I forgot his name again. How could I forget his name? Um, Holy crap. Josh Kemble. Man, I feel so bad for forgetting that. Scott Circland, Josh Kemble, Corey Kerr, um, Kevin Cross, um, Samurai Ox, Gaz Gretzky or Gazbot, Jeff Lafferty. These are all guys who are like, yeah, part of like the 100s, and like, yeah, they're sort of the guys that really inspired me to really get into it. So Marshall Lee, although he's not really doing a lot at the moment. Mike Emirates. Um, Gosh, who else? I occasionally watch like some Draw with Jazza. He's pretty cool. Not a lot though. Um, Gary V. Actually, I love Gary V's videos. They're super motivational and get me pumped into sort of building my own business. Um, just trying to think who else I watch. Holly Brown. I do like Holly Brown. She's all sort of new and improved at the moment too, and so happy for her. She's went through a bit of a rough time, but you know I know her a bit more personally, um, sort of, and you know she's a lovely person. So so glad that she's sort of on the up and up again, which is awesome. Um, is it Bailey J? She does some really cool videos. Um, Gosh, who else? Oh man, the Chumba or Jeffrey Cruz, if you don't know. Oh man, Cirque, yeah, Adam the Woo. You know, I actually haven't been watching that much Adam the Woo lately. After having April and everything, we just got so busy and behind that we stopped watching for a while, and since then we haven't gotten back into him. I still follow him, so I still see that he has updates, but yeah, I haven't followed him, watched him in a long time. I should get back to checking him out. I'm sure if I bring it up with the wife, she'll be 100% down to watch some Woo. So thank you for bringing that up. Um, Mostly, like most of the reason I use YouTube though is for music. There's some really good um, like chill hop, trip hops playlists and stuff on here. It's like there was a guy at work who was really into that and got me into some of that music. So well, that's a lot of what I listen to while I'm working too. To sort of go back to the question from earlier. I do like watching some controversial stuff. Like, um, I'm not like any sort of advocate, but I've been watching quite a bit of the Steven Crowder videos lately. Um, he sort of um, he does the change my mind videos, and like I don't agree with everything this guy has to say. Like he's pro gun and pro life and all that sort of stuff. Um, I don't really have an opinion on that. Like especially not being an American, a lot of his views are based on American policies and the amendments and everything like that. So like in comparison to Australia, things are very different. But it definitely teaches me a lot. Like listening to um, one of them was there are only two genders, and I mean that's a topic that I've personally sort of I'm gonna say struggled with because I don't fully understand it. I don't have any transgender friends. I have some gay, some lesbian friends, but um, they don't really talk in depth about it, and I don't catch up with them that often, to be personally honest either. Um, Not because they're lesbians, of course, just life. Um, but yeah, that was really interesting to actually understand a bit more about it and listen to perspectives of people about it, and yeah. So I don't have an opinion one way or another, but my mind's always open for changing. So I found myself listening to that and like other types of videos like that. Like Joe Rogan, he does some interesting stuff. Yeah, so they're sort of all I can really I'm not recommend, but they're some of the YouTubers that I watch. I generally stay away from like the Let's Plays and video game channels because personally I know if I do, I'll waste a lot of time watching them because if I watch something like that, I have to pay attention to it. Um, and I can't allow that kind of time. Um, I like a lot of the art YouTubes and stuff like that where people just generally talk like this. Pretty much what I'm doing now, where I'm just talking, and you can sort of switch off. You don't have to watch the screen. You can just draw or something like that. I like discussional videos. Hopefully that answered your question. Hopefully I didn't offend anyone with that answer too. It's never my intention. Okay. So you guys can see now, like I'm using the black pen to fill in those black areas, the brush pen to fill in the areas, because that's a lot easier than the marker I would have been using to fill in. Sup, Tim? Alright, guys. Once I finished inking this, I am going to go. So I'm going to make myself some lunch soon. And then I've got a meeting this afternoon, which should be interesting. Hopefully a bit of work comes out of it, which will be nice. And I get to catch up with one of my friends as well very quickly, so that'll be cool too. Kind of frustrating. If I didn't have to, I'd probably just break for lunch and then come back and finish up the colours. It's very quiet in here. I had music on before and the playlist has obviously stopped. So now I'm just sort of sitting in silence. Boom, boom, boom. So close. So close. Do you guys ever get to a point where when you're working on a piece like this and you get like very close to the end, like there's not much left, and you just sort of like want to rush it just to get it finished off? It's like, but I know I can't because if I rush it, knowing me, I'll stuff something up. Or at the moment, like with this brush, I don't know if you guys can tell with the lighting, but the ink does take a little bit of time to dry, so I have to be very careful with the way that I put the ink on, so I'm not going to run my hand over it and smudge it. I was actually working on a piece a couple of weeks ago. I was using this pen, and April was sitting on my lap, which I know I shouldn't have done, which was probably a really bad move. And she's 2, so she just wants to draw with me, and she doesn't really have like a sense of insane control. So if she wants something, she's just going to reach out and grab it. Thus is the life of a 2-year-old. So I was inking with this, just sort of blacking out some stuff in the background, and she reached across and went to grab it. She didn't get the pen, but I sort of went like that to move my hand, and rubbed my hand along the paper and ended up smearing the ink halfway across. Luckily, it was in most of the background area, so I was able to save the piece. But man, I was so angry. And it took me a second. I had to sort of compose myself and sort of put myself back in check and be like, hey man, don't be angry at the kid. You got to be angry at yourself because you knew the risks. So it was very cute though. April was very sorry and apologetic, even though it wasn't her fault. So she was like, sorry, Dad, and she gave me a kiss, and it was very sweet. She's a good kid. She loves drawing too. Usually so this desk that I'm working at the moment, I'll usually have just like a dining room chair up here because I work primarily on the computer during the day for client work. And she'll just come in and she'll sit on the chair and she's got like a little Moana colouring book and she'll just pick up some of her pens and start colouring in, and yeah, it's super cute. Love it. Very frustrating though because because she loves art so much already, people keep buying her art supplies, like, you know, those cheap sort of kids art packs. So now she's like got way more art supplies than she needs. That we could even fit. Like, we just didn't even know where to put them, so we had to donate half of them to like op shops and stuff, like thrift shops. Of course, none of them are like, you know, good quality. So if anything was good, like, I would have kept it. But oh well, it's good. I'm glad that she likes artwork. I'm creating art, I should say. Sorry. All right. This, for all intents and purposes, is done. Okay, what's going on in the chat? Tim, nice work. Thanks, man. I'm glad you appreciate it. I'm glad you like it. Sorry. I appreciate it. I'm glad you like it. So I really have to go to sleep. I guess going to have to come to the next live stream again. Thanks for joining. I'm going to say Revengers. I don't know what to call you. No, thanks for joining in, and thank you for the questions. Gigi, my dog reached up and put his money paws on my drawing once. Oh no. Yeah, that would just kill me a little bit inside if that happened. Oh no. Yeah, I can't see any way of coming back from that. Gosh. Alright guys, well, I'm gonna leave it there. This is gonna have to dry anyway before I can really go any further with it. I'm gonna have to rub out some of these the grey lead lines, and I'm gonna come in and colour it. So I'll be back maybe this afternoon or tomorrow to finish this off. But thank you all for joining me. I really appreciate you all coming in, asking questions and stuff. I'm definitely going to do way more of these. This has been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed having you here in my studio while I work. So thanks, guys, and I will catch you all next time. If you've got any suggestions for other videos too that you want me to do down the line, like for my Tuesday videos or like Fan Art Friday videos and stuff, please hit me up and I will try and address them. So, alright, I'll catch you all later. Goodbye. I just got to